Cara. This is Pearl here again. I want to talk about the current experiences we're having. And one of the quotations that I've very fond of repeating and specifically relevant to astrology, supposedly said by Fionn when asked what was the best sound he had heard or knows, and asked that question, and his response to it was, the music of what's happening is the sweetest music of all. And what's happening is at any moment in time the clock can be stopped, and that's what creates a birth chart, that we'd say. It's a birth for that moment. So every new moment is a new beginning. It's an opportunity again to go again in a completely new way with a particular alignment. Now, we can do that personally, or we can do it for an occasion, we can do it for an event. And one of the events that was hugely significant, I feel, for Ireland, particularly, because that's my love, and that's where I belong, and all that it represents is what I belong to. And one of the events that happened a fortnight ago was the full moon. And it was particularly, people were talking about how spectacular it looked, but in actual fact, that particular full moon had an alignment between the sun, Jupiter, and the moon in the moon sign. And the sun, moon, and Jupiter are the 1, 2, 3 of what I study as Vedic astrology. Number 1 is the sun, and it represents the soul. Number 2 is the moon, which represents our mind. And number 3 is the Jupiter, which represents the life force, the motivation, the power that's behind what needs to happen. And these 3 are our guiding force. And the fact that they came together in the sign of Cancer, which is the sign ruled by the moon, is the sign where the Jupiter gets exalted. And it's when the sun and the Jupiter meet each other each year, it's when the wisdom becomes available. And the wisdom of what to do or how to be in the world for the greater good. Now, what stands in the way of the greater good is the mind, and what's on our mind. And what's on our mind is usually, we get that from the lunar mansions. It gives an indication of what we need to be, what we want to experience, or the things we want to experience, whether it's from desire or from each of the planetary forces awakens some aspect of us that we've taken life, our mission in life, we'd say, to do. Like the sun in our chart would represent our soul need and what mission, what's our destiny here at this time. And what stands in the way of our being able to experience getting back to the sun, because we come from the sun, we're created out of the light, out of that life force. We've come from that, and so we want to go back to that. Ultimately, we want to go back to that, but we get distracted by what's on our mind, and what's on our mind is usually because of our desires to achieve something or get something, whether it's on a material or a relationship or whatever it is, the demands that we're making on ourselves and creating stress for ourselves. But this particular alignment that happened got the 3 in unison of all wanting to do the same thing. And emotionally in Ireland, it was just so powerful. It was like an awakening of an emotion where people became aware of a higher power, and it was expressed in the Mayo win. I don't know whether you follow Gaelic football or not, but there was a whole energy behind that. That anybody who is aware of the passion and the gratitude and the beauty of the joyous expression of the Mayo win. And the interesting thing about that as well is that it had this concept of some dark force behind blocking them up to this. And that block had been removed. And I think everybody was relieved for that. Not just for the Mayo win, but because there was this shadow hanging. And that's what we have in our lives, the shadow hanging over us when we're not able to, with this unfinished business, really. And it was like as if we were freed up from it. It was just it was just such an emotional, you could see it in the people, you could see it in the celebrations, you could see now everybody loves to win anyway. And the Galway girls won, but they didn't in the hurling, but that didn't bring on the same level of countrywide culturally. Like Croke Park, it carries a whole energy about it, and the fact that it's been used for foreign purposes at this stage. Croke Park was actually created by the villages of Ireland. It was the monies that were collected by the village. It was the hours of days and cold pitches and late night training and togs and food and people that supported the local people that created what is Croke Park and what is the sports that we actually participate in. And so it's not a business to be sold, and all the players are volunteers, and all the people that back them and all the training that went into picking the best guys in the village or in the community to perform at their, and they put in so much effort of training to reach this level of excellence. It's like a showcase, and they become stars in their community for the rest of their lives. They'll be remembered. And so it was a very profound experience countrywide for those that were aware of all the energy it goes in and all the volunteering and all the encouragement and all the monies and all the efforts that went in behind to keep that image and that vision and that sport alive. Now, whether it's football or hurling or whatever but in this particular instance, it had that shadow attached to it that was kind of freed up from the psyche of the country even, because everybody knew about the course associated with the Mayo team. And the other thing that happened on the day after was this young man who had been creating extraordinary music and actually succeeding in the Oscars of his song and this song that was created once, or Falling Slowly, and that whole thing of falling slowly, and when now I hadn't really listened to the lyrics that this man had been creating up to this. I knew of his win in the Oscars and that, but I hadn't been following him or anything. But we got this extraordinary presentation of his songs and his poetry, and that he was involved with supporting no more than with the footballers. They supported and they became to operate at their highest. But Glenn Hansard was actually supporting the people who were on their, the people who were on the streets, who failed, who didn't get picked for the team maybe, and in many situations didn't get picked, and need help and support. And so his focus was all about that pain that comes from not meeting it, and at the same time keep reaching for it anyway, keep going for it anyway. And there was a beautiful song that his mother, there was a beautiful thing where he came on stage with his mother, but at the funeral, his brother sang a song that his uncle wrote, and uncle sang, who thought Glenn Hansard how to sing. This is the whole thing, that anything that's rich has a rich heritage behind it. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes a whole lot of energies to come together to create something. But he sang this song, Mama, crying for the mama, and you could feel it. What it's such a powerful expression of the song it was. And the interesting thing about this particular time that this happened is that this was all going on in the sign of Cancer. And the Irish word for Cancer, the zodiac sign, is the port. And the port means a tune. And the tune we attune to initially is the mother's heartbeat. And that's what the sign of Cancer represents. It's that sense of being in a place of safety, in the womb, where the most music of what's happening all the time is the heartbeat and the safety and the sanctuary of mother. And so this man sings this song about Mama and crying, for maybe our failings in terms of what we did to Mama and the Mama in us. And again, it's such an emotional, and that's the whole thing of the sign of Cancer. And this, as I said, the moon, the Jupiter, the sun aligning in this place. It's just so powerful. And then the other event that's happened in this last week is the Belfast, the Fleadh na hÉireann, the music festival where talent of Irish music from all over the country gather in a particular place in Ireland to showcase their ability. And there's all this competition of who's best, but everybody is best because they're there and they're doing it, whether it is dancing or singing or playing. And it was in Belfast for the very first time. And that in itself, and boy, did they put on a showcase. I just feel for this last fortnight, I have been awash with joy of music and celebration and the beauty. And again, all the years of training and all the patience that went into those children learning to dance or sing or play their instruments, and not just the children, but the elderly, the stories, the whole beauty that's in what is Irish culture. It was so showcased, both for the broken-hearted and the excellence of achievement at the highest level in physical fitness and in the song and the dance. And it was like a complete revival of our culture, especially when it's so been, I suppose, with all the visitors we've had, because for a long time nobody came to Ireland, or very few came, from different cultures. We didn't have the money, we didn't have the jobs, we didn't have the weather, we didn't have anything going for us really, other than we enjoyed our own culture and the things in our culture that kept us going. It was entertainment, because we need these things to entertain us, because they revive us, they give us back our sense of well-being, they give us back our sense of it's okay, we can celebrate today, maybe we'll cry tomorrow for something else, but what about it? We can still celebrate, we still have the music, we can still dance a few steps and get over it, So that's one of the things I wanted to say has been so important to Ireland. I felt we so needed that boost of confidence in who we are, what we come from, and if visitors come to Ireland or people come to stay in Ireland, I feel that rather than they wanting to redesign who we are, I think they need to learn how to participate with what is here, what is culturally, and it's in the ground. I'm very interested in, and I love Indian philosophy, and I spend a lot of time studying their value system and their way of being, and I can totally enjoy and what they have to offer in any of the other cultures in actual fact, but I'm particularly enamored with the Indian, and but I'm not Indian. I still like my spud, and I still like, what is natural to me, and the climate, and it's more suited to me because I'm from here. It's like being an Irish apple. I'm Irish. I'm not a Dutch apple or a Spanish apple you know, I remember years ago when the Dutch cabbage came to our shop, and it was left sitting in the middle of the floor in the grocery, and people were coming, and particularly the lads in the bar at night time, they were coming in and looking at it, because we didn't have that kind of cabbage. We didn't have that white solid type of cabbage. It was just a complete new thing that had arrived, and instead of that we had fresh green, dark leafy cabbages just a few yards away across the road that we'd go over and cut the head that was needed in the shop when there was somebody looking for a head of cabbage. So it was immediately off the ground. It wasn't coming in a plastic mesh bag in these bulky white, green, pale green, and it was a complete novelty. And that's that's in my time, and I know I'm getting older and all that, but that's the whole thing. Like, it's what's natural to a place, or it's what's natural to us, is really what's most important to recognise and to give life to, and to respect it. And for those that visit here, and whether they're coming temporary because of conflict, or for jobs, or for whatever reason they're coming, it would be nice to see them participate in what are the cultural activities here, and not stick to their own, and try to create their own community within we're only a very small country, so we can't take so many. And it would be good if, obviously there'd be a whole different, like we saw it years ago with the hurlers in Cork. I can't remember their names now, but there was a couple of lads. They were mixed race. I can't remember their names. It doesn't matter anyway. But they were fantastic hurlers, and it just, to be willing to respect where we go to. Like when I go to India, I like to wear the sari. I think it's a beautiful thing, and they think it's a beautiful thing that I want to wear the sari. I'm not trying to go in with a Western costume or whatever, and impose my particular way of doing a thing, or what the culture I come from. And there wouldn't be much room for the wool that, in the places I'd been in India, because it was too hot, you couldn't wear it. Whereas we actually need it here. It's just a different culture, different climate. And so we need to respect each other, where we come from, and what's of value from where we come from, and what we have to offer. And this is what this last fortnight was about. I feel that it has given back to the culture that is Ireland a showcase of the beauty and the power of it. And whether people participate in that or not, it's not important, but what is important is the culture we come from. And we have eclipse now coming in 2 days, and we have all the other planetary forces that are there, but particularly for Ireland, this eclipse and this time is the next round of eclipses that are about to start are going to be much more significant for Ireland, because the chart that I use to study what's happening for Ireland is very much associated with the sign of Cancer. And for that reason, that hasn't been fully triggered yet. It is coming very soon, and it will be... if you look back to 14 years ago, this is, I suppose, one way that we can kind of understand what the influences come, because if we look at events that have happened and when they happened before, or why they happened before, this Sun, Moon, Jupiter alignment, because the Jupiter is exalted, and that only happens every 12 years. So it's in this particular time of it happening, it's moving quicker. So it's actually aspecting And Jupiter brings benefit, it brings growth, it brings wisdom, it broadens our horizons, it broadens our awareness. And so it has already been through Gemini, it's now in Cancer, and it's going to go to Leo in the space of a year, where usually it spends a year in the one sign. And so it's doing a back and forth movement. So it's moving quicker, it's bringing more things to deal with, but it's actually having an influence on everybody. Usually, if it's in one sign for 1 year, it'll have an impact on a few people very directly. But because it's aspecting or going to be visiting in 3 different departments, it means the whole chart, everything is going to get transformed in this. And the awareness is going to be of our spiritual dimension, because that's what I feel has been happened here, that has been awakened by this Sun, Jupiter, Moon alignment, is we've been brought into a more spiritual awareness of the benefits of what we come from and where we are. And the other thing that I saw as well, that I thought was very good, is that whoever was organising the Belfast event, seemingly there was people, or AI is coming in wanting to, you see, everything I'm talking about there now, like the sport or Glen Hansard or the flat, that's all creativity. That's all built out of the training, the soul, the background, the culture, the heritage that belongs here. And AI can't own that. AI is only going to reproduce whatever it feels. And I saw the organiser of the Fleadh Belfast appealing to whoever was putting up information about what was happening in Belfast, using AI to create the music, when there's so much organic talent gathering from around the country, and to insult it with an AI version after all their years of training, it's just not, I was glad to hear them saying, please don't do that. If you want music, if you want to know about somebody who knows how to play a reel or a jig or sing a song or whatever, you talk to the original who spent so much time and the creativity and the energy to actually achieve this, rather than get an AI manufactured with no heart nor soul nor life force behind it, really, only than a calculation of a computer. And the other thing I see as well that's going on right now is the books, the old books with knowledge. And like our only hope for expanding our awareness is by reading a book. I think they're the most beneficial of anything to take us out of our limitations, our sense of limitation, with all that's going on within us. I think astrology is all about what's within us. And there's things happening on a world level, but it's within us that the astrology and what's in our mind that needs help and healing, and reading a book and being able to access information, and especially old information, and especially information on like medicine or history, and how much corruption that's gone on in not allowing information to be available. And so if they're destroying the books, and that happened in Alexandria years ago. They went in and destroyed and burnt buildings, or they did it in Syria a few years ago as well. They went in and just set ablaze the libraries. And one of the things George Russell, AE, who was a very brilliant man associated with promoting generosity and goodness and within the rural and within. And one of the things he used to complain about all the time, that in all the villages and the towns, it was so hard to find a library or an art gallery or a book that you could read. You could read the newspapers. That was really as much as you could get. And now I think they're going out of business because there's so many versions now of media and so many stories, and you don't know who to believe or what to believe. But at least you're in the realm of getting different stories. It's not censored so much, and they are trying to censor. But if they take these books and choose what they want to leave in them and what they want to take out, which is what they're doing, they're scanning them and destroying the old books, and I think I think somebody should go in and outbid them because they're doing it worldwide, and it's taken our history, and we mightn't be ready to read them. That's what I find. I went into Kenny's one day, and and they have an absolute massive array of books. But a book fell off the shelf as I walked past, and it was Terence McSweeney. And I didn't know about Terence McSweeney, but he fell off the shelf to me. I said, well, I have to take him home. And he died in a British prison, having been Lord Mayor of Cork. And they took him out and imprisoned him, and he died on a hunger strike to bring awareness to the dilemma that what was being inflicted in Ireland at the time with the Black and Tans, and so here's this book, that if I hadn't got it, I wouldn't have known. But maybe there's people who don't want us to know about what happened before. But even if they don't, it's going to be in our bones, and the tragedy of it and the trauma of it. And the best thing we can do for ourselves is to try to heal the things that hurt us, and where we have the conflicts. And that's lifetime learning. And if we don't have, where are we going to look to for medicine? Where are we going to look to for healing? Like they've wiped out, they've not allowed lots of herbs, and dismissing the value of herbs, and says the pharmaceutical is controlling all of that, and saying no, you all the teaching homeopathy, all that is becoming limited in what we can have. But one of the things I'll say to you, in any of the chemistry stuff in pharmacies that you see, if there's a little black mark at the bottom of a tube or whatever you're looking at, that is a dangerous chemical that you're dealing with. And they have had to put a mark on it to show that it contained a product that wasn't good for us. So it's a good guideline if you're looking for a face cream or any kind of tonic. Look to see how it's tagged. Anyway, the little shadow's there all the time. As I say, the shadow is always, and that's what we're here to deal with. It's like the sun comes up and it goes to its height at midday, and the shadow then starts to be created. And that's the story of Diarmuid and Grania. The going away from the sun to have to experience wanting this love affair, and going away from being with the sun to experience this worldly event of falling in love, and then again, that all passes, and the following day the sun rises again. And that's the laws of nature, and it's continually happening. So we need to know that we're in our lives, we're here to deal with some of our shadows. We mightn't get to deal with them all. We have to forgive ourselves for the ones that maybe we're not so good at, and maybe we have to repeat the lesson again, and that's life. The roses come back next year, and some of the weeds keep coming whether you want them or not, and they do, and they come up on us. Our own weeds keep coming up, and we have to forgive ourselves for those too, and maybe one at a time try and focus on clearing one. But we can only do it at our own pace, with our own ability and with our own skills. And the 1, 2, 3, the sun, the moon and the Jupiter in alignment has awakened us to the possibility of being able to do that. It's just been a beautiful combination. So I know I haven't talked about the eclipse and the effect of that, but that happens every 6 months. We get moved again. And as I said, the next one and the next series I think are going to be important for Ireland and finding our values and the strength of our values. And the Saturn has gone stationary, so all the old stuff is being asked us to look at all the old stuff that has been there, all the old wounds, all the old hurts. Saturn represents that shadow, and so that's all there for us to at this end stage. It's like we're really at a time of transition and getting an opportunity to clear some things. Maybe we won't clear it all, and so be it. But the music of what's happening, and to try and tune into that, and to see the opportunity that's in each moment, and to value what you have as a talent and what mission is yours. The sun represents your soul, and the soul has come with a mission. It's like in the vehicle you got, the sun is the passenger, and he knows he's got a destiny, he has a mission, he has something to create. And in your chart, you look to the sun to see what that mission is, and the moon will give you a sense of your mood and your mind and what you're able to do. The demands of what the soul wants may be in conflict somewhat with what the moon wants, and so you might go after what the moon wants, your emotions and what you feel like, and you're not in the mood for something, but still the sun is sitting there. He has a journey to do, he has something to achieve, and if your moon is taking you away from that journey, it's going to get very painful. And what happens is that Jupiter, being the third eye, being the life force, is going to give you the broader vision and the help with your moon to get to see the sunlight and bring you back to the sunlight. And so we're doing that all the time. And I can talk about the other 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as well, of all to be dealt with. We'll do it at another time. But anyway, thanks for listening to me. We're in a very interesting time. And my name is Pearl Finn, and I'm at 087 244 1502. In Ireland, 353 is the country code. And if you want to ask me anything about it, you're more than welcome. I also have a website. You can check that out. I have some lessons in particularly Vedic astrology. That's a passion of mine. So that's a mission of mine, I could say. And so thanks very much for listening to me again. Slán live.